How's it going, fellow cult members? Welcome back to some World of Tanks. Today we're going to be taking a look at one of, if not my favorite vehicles that I have unlocked in this game so far, the VK101P. I've already made another video on a game I had last year on this tank, just because of the damage that I blocked and how ridiculous it was, how I blocked it. You could check that out with the link in the description as well as in the card that should be popping up sometime now. But that's not what we're going to be looking at today. We're going to be looking at another game I had the day before I'm recording this. So yesterday for me, who knows when it is for you when you're watching this. But regardless, I adore this tank, and I'm trying to grind my way up past the Moisian to the mouse, obviously, because the mouse is the greatest thing ever. But I'm nearly there. Most of the XP that I needed I got last night while I was playing. Probably a couple games away from it, depending on how well I play. But regardless, what do I like about this tank? What don't I like about this tank? There's really nothing that I don't like about this tank. It's slow, yeah, but I mean, you sign up for that when you go down the German super heavy line. If you expect a fast vehicle, I don't know what you've been smoking, but send some my way. I will say the gun, the reload is a little bit of a hassle sometimes, because you really feel like you're waiting a long time in between shots. I'm probably, once I get repairs on a few more of my crew members, I'll probably drop a toolbox and put a gun laying drive. I just like to have that ability to get my tracks back up, because this thing's traverse speed is very slow, and having a track down means that you're extremely open to getting flanked by basically anything that is mobile, or just more mobile than you, which is basically everything that you face. But as for the firepower, this thing's gun packs a punch. You can take off huge chunks from your enemies. The penetration is a little bit on the lower end, I think. I don't really know the average penetrations and stuff. This is kind of a lesser game that I play, but I haven't really had too many issues with it. I tend to just kind of fire in the general direction of the enemy, and it does pretty well. The dispersion, not the greatest. You will miss a lot of shots, but when it hits and you do 440 average damage, whew, it's a good feeling, let's just put it that way. As for the survivability aspect, the armor is fantastic. You do some angling with this, wiggle the turret, angle it, basically play it like you play the mouse, and you'll do fantastic. You'd think that this cupola is a weak spot, but I'm pretty sure it still has like 200 millimeters of armor on that, so with the angling and everything, you'll still bounce so many shots off that cupola. It's absolutely hilarious. Another thing that I really do enjoy about this tank is this spotting range. I think it's a lot because of my crew skills. You can see I have quite a bit added on to that, but it just really helps to be able to spot out vehicles, especially when you're maybe alone on a flank, which does happen in this thing quite often because everybody else dies while you can hold up with your armor. So it's nice to have that spotting range because people can't really catch you out trying to get around you, because I'm not really sure why this thing has such good spotting range. I think it's just because it's so tall, but it's a very nice feature to have in this. But enough of me going on about how much I adore this tank. Enjoy the gameplay. And welcome to, I believe this map is called Tundra. We are in a top tier matchup. And let me tell you, when I saw that, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. So you can see I instantly start heading towards this western flank up along the 1 line, because there's a bit of an alleyway that cuts through. You can see it right on the mini-map there, up along through that little, I guess, opening. Yeah, a lot of different ways that I've just said opening there. But regardless, I want to try to make my way up, because I know that their heavy tanks are likely to go over there, and it would take me just too long to be effective to get over to where you see the T-29 and the Easy-8 already starting to engage. So, you know, trundling along, this thing's top speed, really just ripping. We're already like 20 feet from our spawn. So I see the little wheelie boy try to make a peek, and then he instantly says, nah, I'm not going to go and face that Super Hellcat, and dips. He's obviously just rushing forward to get some spotting off. But I catch a glimpse of that Churchill 7, and then this Type 69, Type 59? Is it a 59? I can't read this. My screen's being too blurry. Type 59. Yeah, there we go. He comes rushing in. I slap him with that amazing alpha damage that I was talking about earlier. And I tried to go for the ram on him just to clip his track off, because obviously he's trying to get around on my side, but I'm not really sure what he decided to do because he really fluffed that. And somehow my shot only tracks him, but now I just sort of started ramming him to keep his track off, and plop right into the top of his turret. And that's my basically only tier 8 threat dealt with on this flank. Now we've got this tier 7 T-29 looking like a snack, along with the AMD, who's pretty much gonna run now. I don't think he really makes a reappearance over here. So now I'm trying to get a shot on the T-29. I was thinking maybe I could go for the side of the turret, but then I realized, oh well, if he's gonna push forward, I'll just take a third of his hit points off. And now this little Churchill 7 thinks he's gonna try to pen our armor, and oh, how cute. At this point, I noticed that our base was starting to get pushed, I think sometime around here, and I realized I gotta push aggressively, because there's only a tier 7 and a tier 6 holding me back, and I'm in a tier 8 heavy tank, so I'm not really even worried about what these guys are gonna do to me. I can just push up and bludgeon my way through them, and at some point relatively soon, I'll really notice that we're starting to get hit in our base, and I'll say in chat, I'm trying to get the Super Hellcat and the King Tiger. I'm just like, hey guys, I got this. Go back to base. I'll handle these guys. They're not even a threat to us anymore. But typical teammates, they just sort of hang with me for really no reason. But we're already up to over 2,000 damage with that shot, planting one into the T-29, taking one in return, but I'll take that trade all day, considering he's a one-shot for us, and he would still take him, like, what, 4 shots to kill us? I think he just gave up at that point, sort of rolls right into my gun, and, well, that's all she wrote for him. Yeah, and you see in the chat now, I say, go, I got this, guys. I will say, I think I was listening to some Rammstein right now. I was feeling a little cocky, but at the same time, I had it. It was, all that was left was the Churchill 7, and there's no way he's even going to make any attempt to try to kill me. It's just not going to happen before I knock him out. So now we've got the King Tiger, who I think he smelled artillery in the water, and he just put the pedal to the metal and went flying. This little E-25 kind of sneaks up, and the Super Hellcat, I think, gets a sudden rush of big brain intelligence and sort of just doesn't really do anything. I'm not really sure what happened to these guys over here, but I noticed that there's an E-25 trying to sneak up on my buttocks, and I don't think he expected me to notice him sneaking up on my buttocks. I tried to go for the ram, but he was just a little bit too nimble, and he kind of pulled his track away, but he did not stay behind me, and he paid for it. And now on to the other friend in the E-25. Meanwhile, I'm just ricocheting everything that's being fired at me because, you know, tier 7 and 6 guns against this thing's armor. It's an absolute joke. You feel like a true heavy tank when you're playing this thing in a top tier matchup. And this isn't just a game that would have happened in a top tier matchup. I was having games like this, not quite this good, but almost as good as this all night with this vehicle. It was just constant games of like 3,000 plus damage. It was fantastic. And I just was having so much fun playing this vehicle. So at this point, I was really worried that they were going to rush our caps. So I figured I need to just go put pressure on the cap circle and basically force them to either come to me or start to cap. Because I figured they would more likely come to me considering how many vehicles are over by us. The middle of the map collapsed and we lost everyone. The eastern is somewhat holding up. The guys did a decent job over there. There's a couple people on our team that I would not have been able to do this without. But I catch the artillery slack and using that excellent spotting range, like I said, get him, and then I just start to sort of position myself in the cap to be covered from the other artillery, but The other artillery, I'm not really sure if he just sort of forgets that I'm alive. Maybe I wasn't spotted for him. I'm not sure. He seems like he's sleeping right now, but I push up, catch a sight on this Firefly who probably should have checked his flank before he takes 400 damage to the side of his turret. I'm sure he wasn't feeling too hot about that. Then we notice the little Easy 8 creeping in the bushes, so waiting on that reload. And oh yeah, half his hit points gone. Bit of a low roll there, but you know, I'll take 350 damage any day of the week. So I'm looking for the shot on him again, but he's pulled back. And you can see on the map the circle of my spotting range. It's pretty insane. Like, I know it's probably not that crazy, but to me it's just such a nice feature to have. Now this LTG, I fluffed the shot there. I thought that the depression didn't go quite as much, but this thing's just like, look at how flat that tank is. I don't even know how that's physically possible for a tank to be that flat, but this guy starts to make a bit of a monkey out of me. So at this point I kind of realized, oh, I need to back up, get my butt against something solid, but thankfully the King Tiger was awake enough to help me out. Very glad that he was still alive at that point and had gone with me rather than going back to base. But we are able to shut down the Easy 8, and now all that's left is the artillery. And you'll see in chat I say, come cap, because I figured, hey, we're gonna cap this before we catch the artillery. But I can understand, you know, he wants to go get that little bit of extra damage. I wouldn't, probably in his situation, I would do the same. But I figured there's no way I'm going to catch him, so I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to cap. And that's what I do. And with that, the game is over. Victory for my team. Now that was actually my mastery, my ace tanker for the VK100-01. I was very happy to finally receive that. I was also able to pick up a steel wall, obviously, with that damage block, the high caliber, an invader medal, and a top gun, which all of those very, very nice. We get 76,000 credits, 14,000 experience. I believe I activated, I had like a booster active or something so that I was able to get that much experience, but you can just see the absolute carnage that we tore up throughout the enemy team. And with almost 5,000 damage done, I think I did more than the rest of my team combined. But I will say, between the Lorraine, the T-29, and the King Tiger, I think without those guys that would have easily been a loss, because I just would not have been able to get to the cap to defend, or I would not have been able to face off against what was remaining for our team. So that was actually a nice little profit of 50,000. The ammo cost is a bit high on this vehicle. I actually didn't fire any premium rounds, and it was still 20,000 just about for the ammo cost. But 18 shots fired, 17 hits, 14 pens, and just 22 hits received, 4 pens, 18 non-pens. We blocked 2,600, which actually is on the lower end for this vehicle, but I was still quite happy with a 9-minute game that net me 14,000 experience. It was just an absolute blast, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you'd like to submit a replay for me to potentially feature, be sure to do so using either one of the chats on my Discord. There should be a submissions that you can place it in there, or you can send it to me via the email on the About section of my YouTube. Just send it in and put a little title that'll catch my eye, although if you're sending it to my email, I'm gonna catch it anyways, so consider sending that my way, and if not, have a great day, and I'll see you next time.
Searching within, we've justified our sin.